Hello all! Writer Edmond Barrett back again. Last month I did a reading of my debut novel, The Nameless War. This month I'm going to do a reading of my 2017 time travel novel, Out of Era. This was my take on the concept of a temporal war, where the past is prize, battleground and weapon. Before then, however, I have an announcement. My new novel, Para Bellum, is now available for pre-order. See links below. Set in the same universe as The Nameless War, this covers the first encounter between humanity and the Alair Confederacy. I'm going to be running a competition for one person to win a signed paperback copy of Para Bellum. Watch this space for details. Until then, however, I hope we are all sitting comfortably, and I shall begin. Chapter 1. Location: Contemporary Nation-State Designation, United States of America. Urban Centre: Cleveland. Date: Second Era Dating System, 13th of October 1993, Common Era. Time: per pre-Potsdam Rebellion time measurement protocol, 11:23 p.m. Assuming I get any kind of choice in the matter, I don't just interface into a time period and wing it. At the very least, I make sure there's nothing upon my person that shouldn't be there or then. That means checking my pockets for coins with a minting date that is in the future relative to where I'm going to be. Obviously, bank cards, credit cards or any kind of personal ID are right out. To make my life easier, I own several dozen wallets, all hand-stitched natural leather from the 1930s, so there are no plastics. Each one for storing banknotes of one country and time period, as well as the same photograph that I always keep. I also have to be careful about clothing. It isn't about being fashionable. I need a wardrobe the size of a warehouse for that. It's more about making sure I'm not wearing something with elements that haven't been invented or haven't gone into general usage in the time period I'm entering, like zips before about 1913 or Velcro before the 1960s. So on the job I tend to wear a lot of natural fabrics and have an overall look that could be best described as old-fashioned, irrespective of where or when I am. As for the operations themselves, well, they mostly revolve around being in position to intercept rogue time travellers as they arrive in era, and make sure there's no evidence of the event left behind for somebody of that time to discover. That the alarm system of the warehouse I need to enter is blaring when I arrive, that's not so good, because it strongly suggests the plan has gone sideways, and from here on in, I'll be making it up as I go along. If you're wondering why I can't go backwards a few minutes, well, the short answer basically boils down to this. Messing with your own personal continuity is a really bad idea. The long answer is that while loopbacks are possible, you should try to avoid them. If I did, and then for some reason the alarm didn't actually go off, then my presence in that time period would be based on data that the earlier version of me couldn't have acquired. The result would be a paradox, which are hard to predict but generally aren't pleasant. So while loopbacks can and sometimes must be performed, they are best attempted on a very pre-planned basis. Don't ask me for more than that because A, I'd be all day trying to explain the maths, and B, most of it is well beyond the comprehension of my early 21st century brain anyway. I don't need to be able to understand the technology of time travel any more than you need to be able to understand the technology of the modern telecommunications industry to use your mobile phone. I can't say I'm entirely surprised at this turn of events. Control thought it had enough of a fix to get me into a time and place position before this one arrived. However, this wasn't one of your garden variety rogue time travellers, but something we call a dive bomber. Down this far, rogue time travellers are a rare breed. Most of those that do attempt it are aiming to make a small tweak, take something from the past, or even settle down here. Dive bombers are more destructive, one-way time travellers that aren't aiming to come back and are looking to do major changes. I've only come across a handful, but those that do come down as far as the 20th century are a dangerously dedicated breed. This particular dive bomber had already managed to dodge all attempts at interception, so successfully in fact that we aren't sure if it's a he, she or an it that's coming down the time stream. Assuming the target arrived, the alarm might be a problem. In this time and place, the police could be minutes away or never turn up. For my purposes, far better the latter. Do you have a coordinate fix? I ask Control as I pick the mechanical lock on the warehouse door. From my outward appearance, none of my equipment is in any way futuristic. But then in the 20th century there is no scientific or medical test that would detect the computer in my head, or that my jacket is far more than it seems. As for the rogue time travellers, particularly dive bombers, there's no way of knowing what they've picked up on the way down. Confirmed, Control replies. Bearing 023 on current level, range 98 feet. About 30 metres, I think to myself. I do wish they'd remember that down here we don't all work in that archaic measuring system. I unholster my gun, a Webley .455 revolver I acquired on the Western Front in 1917, and move slowly forwards. It's a heavy weapon and of course limited to only 6 shots, but I can get away with it being seen further into the 19th century, and it does fire a nice big bullet.